Hello everyone and welcome back. Stop scrolling. These three British 1-penny coins 1917, 1938, and 1963 are shocking collectors in 2025. The 1917 penny, more than a century old, is turning heads with rare mint errors now worth hundreds of dollars. The 1938 penny, from the reign of King George VI, is climbing fast in value, especially uncirculated ones. And the 1963 penny, featuring young Queen Elizabeth Roman II, is now a nostalgic treasure collectors can stop chasing. 3 generations of history, 3 coins, and 1 golden truth. Your old British penny might be worth way more than you think in 2025. 1917 1-penny British coin. Have you ever held something in your hand and realized you were touching over 100 years of history? This the 1917 1-penny coin from Great Britain isn't just an old piece of metal. It's a story frozen in time. Minted during one of the most dramatic years in world history, the year the First World War was still raging across Europe. And today in 2025, this humble bronze coin has become a treasure for collectors around the world. Let us go deep into the past and explore every detail, every symbol, and the surprising collector value that this 1917 penny holds even after more than a century. The 1917 1-penny was struck during the reign of King George V, who ruled from 1910 to 1936. At that time, the world was facing unimaginable hardship. World War I was reaching its final years. Soldiers were fighting on the Western Front, and Britain was stretched to its limits. Yet, despite all this chaos, the Royal Mint continued to produce coins like this one, ensuring that the economy and life could go on. This coin is made of bronze, with a weight of around 9.45 grams and a diameter of 31 millimeters, a large, solid coin that feels heavy in the hand. When you hold it, you can almost feel the strength of the empire it once represented. On the obverse, or front side, you'll see the portrait of King George V, designed by the talented sculptor Bertram Mackennal. It shows the king facing left, with a neatly trimmed beard and a solemn expression, a symbol of dignity and strength during a time of great turmoil. Around the edges, the Latin inscription reads Georgius Vitae gra Britam rex fid def ind imp. This translates to George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, defender of the faith, Emperor of India. Every letter reminds us of Britain's vast empire, one that stretched across continents. Now, turn the coin over, and you'll see one of the most iconic images in British coinage, Britannia seated proudly holding a trident in one hand and a shield in the other. This design has been used on British pennies since the 17th century, symbolizing national pride and naval power. Her trident stands for the strength of the Royal Navy, and the shield with the Union Jack shows Britain's unity and protection. Behind her, the faint outline of a ship reminds us of the maritime spirit that defined an empire built on trade and exploration. Below her, the date 1917 quietly marks a year of both war and resilience. Now here is something most collectors don't realize: in 1917 pennies were struck not just at the Royal Mint in London, but also at 2 private mints under contract. The Heaton Mint, with an H mint mark, and the King S. Norton Mint with a KN mint mark. If you look carefully at the coin just below the date, you might find a small H or KN mark. That tiny detail can make a massive difference in value today. So what is the value of the 1917 1-penny in 2025? Well, it depends on the condition and mint mark. A heavily worn coins, the kind that has been through thousands of hands and has lost most of its fine details, might be worth just $1 to $3 USD. But a coin in fine to very fine condition, with most of Britannia and the king still visible, can easily fetch $10 to $20 USD. Now if your penny has survived in extremely fine EF condition, where the details are sharp and the fields are smooth, the value rises to about $50 to $80 USD. But here's where it gets truly interesting. Coins in uncirculated or mint state MS condition, showing full detail and original mint luster, are extremely rare from this wartime year. These can bring $150 to $300 USD or more, depending on how clean and bright they are. And if your coin happens to have that special H or KN mint mark, collectors will pay even more. The 1917 H penny can reach $400 to $500 USD, while the 1917 KN penny, which is much rarer, can go as high as $700 or even $800 USD in top condition in today's 2025 collector market. There are also rare era coins from 1917, including double strikes, misaligned dies, and off-center minting. These unique minting mistakes can multiply the value several times. Some have sold for over $1,000 USD at auction. But beyond all the prices and numbers, what makes this coin truly special is its history. Imagine the stories this penny could tell. Perhaps it was used to buy bread in London during wartime rationing, or carried in the pocket of a British soldier on the front lines of France. Every scratch, every worn edge, carries a memory of the world that once was. Today, over a century later, the 1917 one penny stands as a small but powerful reminder of endurance, change, and history itself. Collectors don't just see it as a coin, they see it as a story, a symbol of the strength of a nation that stood through the hardest of times. So if you ever find this coin in your collection, or perhaps in an old box handed down through generations, hold on to it. Because it's not just copper and bronze. It's a living memory of 1917, a moment when the world was at war. But hope and heritage were still being minted into every single penny. 1938 one penny British coin. Have you ever held a coin that carries the silence of a changing world? The 1938 one penny from Great Britain is more than just an old piece of bronze. It's a witness to the final peaceful year before the world was plunged into the darkness of World War II. Every mark, every faded detail whispers the story of a world standing right on the edge of history. The 1938 one penny was struck during the reign of King George VI, who had taken the throne only 2 years earlier in 1936, after the abdication of his brother King Edward VIII. It was a time of uncertainty, transition, and quiet strength. Britain was still rebuilding confidence after the economic challenges of the 1930s, and the storm clouds of another global war were already gathering over Europe. And yet the Royal Mint continued to produce coins like this one, coins meant for everyday people. Coins that would one day become powerful symbols of resilience. This penny is made of bronze weighing around 9.4 grams, with a diameter of 31 millimeters, the same proud size as the old Victorian pennies that came before it. It has that deep, brown tone that only time and age can create. The kind of patina that tells you this coin has seen generations pass by. On the obverse, or front side, is the portrait of King George VI, designed by Thomas Humphrey Paget. It has a sharp, noble profile, the king facing left with his youthful features symbolizing calm determination. Around his portrait, the Latin inscription reads, George's VID, J. BROMNREXFDINDIMP, which translates to George VI, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faiths, Emperor of India. Those words alone hold history. This was one of the last British coins to carry the title Emperor of India, as India would soon begin its final journey toward independence in 1947. So the 1938 penny represents the closing chapter of the British Empire's global era, a turning point between old and new worlds. Now turn the coin over, and once again we meet Britannia, the eternal symbol of Britain herself. She sits confidently on the reverse side, holding her trident in one hand and resting her shield adorned with the Union Jack in the other. Her gaze looks out over the sea, calm but prepared, the perfect symbol of British naval power and pride. Behind her, a faint lighthouse glows, guiding ships home, a subtle reminder of Britain's long seafaring tradition. Below her, the date 1938 is struck boldly, the calm before the storm. When you hold this coin, it's not just metal. It's a time capsule from the last year before the world changed forever. The very next year, in 1939, Britain would be at war again. That makes this coin a symbol of a vanishing era, the end of peace, the end of innocence. Now let us talk about its collector value in 2025. Because while this coin is common in worn conditions, certain examples are highly sought after today. A well-circulated 1938 penny with heavy wear and faded details might sell for around $1 to $3 USD. but a fine or very fine example, where you can clearly see the King's face and Britannia's figure, can easily reach $10 to $20 USD in the collector market. Coins in extremely fine EF condition with crisp detail and minimal surface will often sell between $40 and $70 USD. And if your coin is in uncirculated or mint state MS condition, with its original shine still intact, the value rises steeply from $100 to $200 USD depending on the grading. But here's where it gets more interesting. There are proof strikes and error coins known for 1938. Proof pennies, made for collectors in limited numbers with mirror-like surfaces, can be worth $300 to $500 USD today. Rare minting errors such as off-center strikes, double lettering, or filled die marks can fetch over $700 USD or more in 2025 auctions, especially if authenticated by PCGS or NGC. Even though it's not the rarest penny, the 1938 1 penny has a quiet historical weight that makes it special. It represents the final chapter of pre-war Britain, the end of an old empire, and the beginning of a new uncertain world. In classrooms and coin collections alike, it's often called the last penny of peace. Think about it, this coin might have been in the pocket of a London worker reading the newspaper about rising tensions in Europe. Or perhaps it changed hands in a small shop, just months before air raid sirens would echo through the streets. Every scratch tells a story, every dent a journey. And now, in 2025, holding this coin feels like holding a heartbeat from 87 years ago. A coin that once bought a loaf of bread now holds a story worth far more than money. So if you ever find the 1938 1 penny, take a moment to really look at it. Because you're not just holding a coin, you're holding the final breath of peace before the storm of history. 1963 1 penny, Great Britain. Have you ever held something small that carries the weight of an entire empire's legacy? The 1963 1 penny from Great Britain might look like a simple bronze coin, but it's the closing echo of over 200 years of British coinage tradition and the last generation of pennies ever made before the United Kingdom stepped into the decimal age. Every mark, every shadow on this coin tells the story of change, of tradition giving way to modern times. It's not just a coin. It's the final heartbeat of the old British penny. The 1963 1 penny was struck during the long and stable reign of Queen Elizabeth II, only a few years after she took the throne in 1952. The world was changing fast. Jet travel, television, modern science, and new technology were redefining what modern meant. But Britain was still clinging to its traditional currency system, shillings, florins, and old copper pennies like this one. This 1963 penny was one of the last few before everything changed forever. Now, take a closer look. The coin is made of bronze, weighs around 9.4 grams, and measures 31 millimeters across, exactly like the old George VI pennies before it. But what makes it distinct is the young portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Mary Gillick. This design, known as the young head, shows the Queen facing right, wearing a simple laurel wreath, a symbol of peace and victory. Her portrait here is calm, elegant, and unpretentious, showing a young monarch stepping into a new era with confidence and grace. Around her image, the Latin inscription reads, Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina FD, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. It's one of the most elegant inscriptions ever to appear on British coins, linking monarchy, religion, and history into one perfect circle. Now flip the coin over and here Britannia still reigns supreme. For more than 2,000 years, Britannia has been the personification of Britain's strength and independence. She sits proudly on the reverse, holding her trident and shield decorated with the Union Jack, gazing out over the sea. A lighthouse stands faintly behind her, representing safety and guidance, the timeless symbol of Britain as an island nation. The word 1 penny is boldly written across the design, with the year 1963 below. It's powerful yet calm, a design that had graced British pennies for over 300 years. But here's what makes this particular coin historically special. This was one of the last Britannia pennies before the massive currency reform of 1971, when Britain said goodbye to the old system and adopted decimalization. After 1967, these large bronze pennies were no longer minted for circulation. So the 1963 one penny stands as a proud farewell to a design that began all the way back in the 1790s. Now, let us talk about its collector value in 2025. While millions were minted, condition and rarity make all the difference. A well-circulated 1963 penny, the kind you might find in an old box or family collection, usually sells for $1 to $3 USD in today's market. In fine to very fine condition, with strong detail and only light where collectors may pay around $5 to $10 USD. Coins in extremely fine EF, or about uncirculated AU condition can go from $15 to $25 USD depending on the shine and detail. And a brilliant uncirculated BU or mint state MS coin, with its original luster still glowing red-brown, can fetch $40 to $80 USD, especially if it has been properly preserved. But there's more. Proof coins, specially made for collectors by the Royal Mint with mirror-like surfaces, are highly sought after today. A 1963 proof penny in perfect condition can be valued between $100 and $150 USD, and in top-graded slabs from NGC or PCGS, even higher up to $250 or more depending on rarity and tone. And if you ever find one with minting errors like double lettering off-center strike or die cracks, the price can jump dramatically, sometimes over $300 USD or more in auctions. So yes, while the 1963 one penny may not seem like much at first glance, it carries incredible historical weight. It represents the end of the old British penny, the end of Britannia's long reign on the copper coin, and the beginning of a new monetary era that would reshape British currency forever. Imagine this very coin could have passed through a 1960s shop counter, buying a newspaper reporting on the Beatles' first hit song, or a child's hand on the way to a sweet shop in post-war London. Now, decades later, it stands as a silent storyteller of a simpler time, one foot in history, the other in memories. And that's what makes the 1963 one penny so powerful. It's not just metal, it's the last bronze heartbeat of an empire's history. A farewell to Britannia, and a reminder that even the smallest coin can carry the longest legacy. So if you have one of these coins lying around, take a closer look. Because what you're holding is not just a penny. It's the final chapter of the British penny's royal story, a piece of time that will never return. Thank you for watching the entire video. You can tell us in the comments what we should make the next video about.